Hey guys, Sean ST here bringing you a deck profile. Today I'm going to be going over Dino Rabbit, version 2.0. So to start off with, we got 3 Rescue Rabbit, 3 Kaba, and 3 Sabers. For the Tour Guide engine, we have 3 Tour Guides, 1 Sengen. And then for the hand traps, we got 1 Gores, 1 Veiler, and 3 Max C. And then for the other monsters in the deck, we have 2 Snowman Eaters. This is actually Simon's build. He topped the last YCS. He got 2nd place. I think his build is really good, and I'm going to go over it and explain why I think his build's good and what's superior about it, and how he was able to fit in a lot of stuff and really make his deck really efficient and stuff. So to talk about first, we got 2 Snowman Eaters. This I think is a huge improvement to Guava. When I played Guava, I had this hero beat matchup where my opponent set a monster, I drew Rescue Rabbit, but I wanted to get use out of Guava. So I had Saber Source on board, so I summoned Guava, I attacked into the face down to get the +1, it turned out it was a Reaper. So I couldn't get rid of the Reaper, so main phase 2, I had Mind Control in hand, but I mean I just waited because there was no point in using it. So main phase 2 I just went into, use Saber Source and Guava to go into Lagia, and the next turn I just went, he just drew and ended. And then so I drew Summon Rescue Rabbit, went to 2 more Sabers, Mind Control the Reaper, and then attack with the Sabers, and then attack with Lagia. And then main phase 2 I went into a 2nd Lagia. But basically the point being was that it seems like Guava it's not always a live card when I draw it. It's kind of, requires some setup time, or it's just not, the monsters that I'm going against just have like 18 or 19 attack, or even Kaba has, 17, so it ties out with that in the mirror match. But I mean, like, it gets beat by this, it gets beat by Alias Neos, it gets beat by Stratos, so it just seems a little too situational. And also, it's less of a standalone. This is more of a standalone card, so you don't have to run 3 of this, in order to have the strategy in the deck, so I like that. So being able to run 2 of it, which is what he did here, he was able to have 1 slot open, so he only had to run 20 monsters, and a lot of times, Dino Rabbit will run 21 or 22. So he actually cut down on the space for his monsters, which is really good. I thought that was good. Also, by running this, it allowed more room in the side deck, and by doing that, it's really good because then you can side other cards and make your deck more well-rounded in the overall meta. So I thought that was really good. In addition, I mean, like, if you're siding this in against 50% of your matches, you might as well just main it. And I mean, in the Swiss rounds, there was a lot of hero beats, from what I heard, and obviously there's a lot of Dino Rabbits going around. So if 50% of his matches or more, he was siding in like his 3rd Snowman Eater, for example, or something like that, then it was, it was worth maining the 2 already. So I thought that was really good. Also, it's got a really nice defense. So usually it's either going to stay face up, or it's going to get a good, +1 if you pop a monster like Shein, or pop a bigger monster. You usually get a good plus out of it, whether it's just a plus like they used up their Rabbit to get a Lagia, then you're getting a plus by using up, by getting rid of one of their Lagias. Unless they have Pot Avarice, then you've gone through one of their, one of these guys already, so, or 2 of these guys already, so it's really good that way. Also, so usually it's either going to, pop a big monster, or it's going to stay on the board, and then if it stays on the board, it can be comboed with some like Mind Control later in the game to get into rank 3s, or you can combo with Tour Guide where they, you attack this, you pop a Neos Alias, for example, and then next turn you summon Tour Guide, get out Sengen, and then you go into rank 3 like Zen mains, or Leviathan or something like that. So it's really good there. I like that a lot, that it combos with the deck. It doesn't just, it's not just a random floater. It's a good floater, good standalone card, but it fits well in the deck and really complements the deck because it also provides spot removal, which this deck has a problem with, big monsters and getting rid of something like Spirit Reaper, Gores or something like that. So by having this in the deck, it also provides a good card to be able to have extra spot removal, which is, again, really complements the deck very well. Also, it gets around Spark and Super Poly when you're going against a hero beat. Moving on to the spells and traps, we got 1 Book, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Heavy, 1 Mine, 1 Monster Born, 1 Pot Avarice. I like the fact that he was able to fit 3 Lance in the deck and not cut down on the MSTs, because some people put 3 Lance but they put only 2 MSTs, and I think that's really bad. I think that you should run 3 MSTs all the time, because early game, when your opponent's playing around the Heavy Storm, so they only set 1 back row, you can go MST and then go Rabbit and go off. They might have the Max C in hand or the Veiler. I mean, Veiler's not really going to do anything against that, but Max C will get him a +1, but you can't really do anything about that. But at least you're not playing into like a warning or something, and that's why I think 3 MST is really good, because early game, you pop their 1 back row, And mid game or late game when they pop your MST with their MST, then you can pop another one of their back rows and do a 2-for-1 trade-off. So I think MST is really good. It's a very good standalone card. In addition to being very good standalone, good beginning, middle, and end game, it's also better against Phoenix Chain because it gets rid of it permanently instead of just temporarily. So I think that's really good. Forbidden Lance is also very broken, so if you could fit 3 in and keep it at that like he did, I think that's really good. And I'm really glad he did that because, like something like Dalka, when they go Dalka, or when you go Dalka and you want to protect it, like if you're going against Dark Worlds or Insectors or Windups, and you can protect it with something like Lance, I think that's really good because Dalka hurts a lot of decks, and if you can protect it with Lance, that's really good. I also like the Smashing Ground because it provides extra spot removal. It's really good, against like something like Thunder King, Spirit Reaper, BLS, Gores. Sometimes you have to use Dark Hole on a Thunder King or BLS, or hopefully not a Reaper, but sometimes you have to do that. So it's really good to have an extra little field removal spell that you can just use, especially against something like a Reaper when you just have to get rid of it, and you're just like, oh, instead of wasting a Mind Control or a Lance on it, you can just go, oh, Smashing Ground. And late game, if they get out BLS or they drop a Gores on it, you can just Smashing Ground the Gores or the BLS. So I really like that. It goes along with the Snowman Eaters to provide extra removal of monsters, which is what this deck needs. Then for the traps, we have 2 Phoenix Chain. This is obviously a really good card because it's gone up in price like no other. And then Mirror Force, 3 Solemns for the extra control, and then 1 Torrent. I like the fact that he only runs 1 Torrent because it doesn't really fit in the deck that well. In my last build, I was actually running 2 Torrents. I just replaced the Trap Dust Chute from the previous ban list with 2 Torrents. And I kind of feel like I was obligated to, and a lot of people sometimes, when it's a staple and it's brought up to 2, it's like, oh, this is a staple card, it's really good, obviously, so now it's up to 2, let's run 2. But he kind of showed that, just because it's at 2, you don't have to run it. And sometimes Torrent wasn't run, like in the back in the day, 6 Samurai, they might not run Torrent just because they wanted to keep their monsters, so they'd run Mirror Force, Deepers, and that kind of stuff. So they didn't always run Torrent. Also, in this deck, Simon kind of talked about how kind of sometimes bad with Sabersaurus or something like a Kaba, because if they summon their rabbit on you and they get out 2 Kaba or 2 Sabersaurus and you go Torrent, that's actually a 2-for-1 trade-off because you're getting rid of your Saber and your Torrential for 1 card. Same if they go out with Insector Dragonfly or Insector Centipede, and you have one of these on the board and you go Torrent, then you're still doing a 2-for-1 trade-off, so it's kind of bad there. So I'm glad he kind of pointed that out. Also, I like the overall deck number. It's really tight. He was able to fit in 3 Lance and have some nice tech cards and Smashing Ground, and he keeps it at 40. A lot of people are giving him crap about that. They're like questioning, like, really, you only run 40? And it really kind of pisses me off because, like, just because he runs 40 or just, because it's different doesn't mean it's, like, bad. And they were, like, questioning about it, but here this guy topped at a YCS with over 4,300 people. So I really don't think they have the right to talk about that. Also, another thing that kind of surprised me on the deck was that he did run 3 Max C, 1 Veiler. I was thinking the meta might switch to 2 Veiler, 2 Max C, but he kept it at 3, so it kind of shows that this is still kind of the standard, is 3 Max C, 1 Veiler. So, moving on to the side deck. I think this is the same as his side deck. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure. We have 2 Cyber Dragons for the Chimera Tech stuff, 1 Veiler for like Insector matchups and other matchups, 1 Summon Eater for like the Mirror, Anti-Meta, other random decks, 6 Samurai. This is pretty good against them as well for the Sheehan and the Barkion and the Beast because they usually don't run Musakani nowadays. Also, yeah, like I said, for the Mirror and for Hero Beats and stuff like that. Thunder King for just the meta, like Dino Rabbit, and for wind-ups with their Factory and their Exceed Summoning and stuff like that. 1 Chalice, this gets around Reaper. It also gets around stuff in the Mirror like Snowman Eater because you can actually do this during the damage step and get Snowman Eater and then negate it. If you attack their Snowman Eater with your Logia, you can go damage step Chalice, which is really good. And it makes it kind of superior in some ways to Phoenix Chain in those kind of situations, so I really like that. 1 Blackhorn Heaven. I love this card. I actually mained it in my wind-up deck. After a while, though, I took it out because there's random decks like Insectors. I guess not random, but I mean there's other random decks like Hero Beats and just other random stuff that this is not good against. But against like Dino Rabbit and wind-ups, it's just a matter of time before it will get used. And since it has no cost, I mean it's really good. It's a Thunder King, that you can just have at your disposal with no cost. It's your 4th Solemn. It's really good. So I like it. I definitely side it if I was going to YCS. I was thinking about maining it, but I probably wouldn't because of Insectors and Hero Beats and other stuff. But definitely side at least 1. I think Philly Luna also sided one of these because I've seen a YouTube video where he actually sided that in and used it against the Mirror match for Dino Rabbit. And then we have 1 Compulse. This is really good against, I guess, Shining, and to slow down the tempo of Hero Beats and Insectors and stuff like that, because Hero Beats only summon once per turn, so they're kind of slower. So if you can slow down their tempo, that's pretty good. Because if you slow down their tempo enough, you can then you know get out your Logia and Dalka and then control the matchup better. It's also good for balancing its Seeds and Synchros, and like again for Shining. And then 1D Prison for the Shining, Zen Mains, Sangyan, other random stuff, Gratha, that kind of stuff. 3 Macrocosmos, I love this card, it rapes so many decks. And then 2 Decree for all the trap heavy decks out there. And then for the extra deck we got 1 Chimera Tech, 1 Catastrophe for Veiler with Mind Control, or Veiler with 4 stars. And then 1 Emerald, 2 Dalka, 2 Logia, 1 Little Owl Chain, 1 Utopia, and then 1 Utopia Ray. Utopia Ray for the Mind Control with your opponent's Utopia, or when you get below 1,000. And then 1 Zen Meister. This is what Simon kind of talked about, and I just want to try it because I actually have the space. Is that you can, when you have Summon Eater, if it survives, then you can basically summon Zen Meister out, target it, flip it face down, at the end phase, flip it back face up. It'll be in attack position, I think. Is that right? Yeah, face up attack position, but at least it'll get its effect again, so you can pop one of their monsters, so it's really good there. So it's kind of situational. It probably won't happen that often at all, but it's still, you can at least have it for the possibility of having it. And then 1 Zen Mains, 1 number 30, 1 Leviathan, and 1 Leviaire. I think Simon also had a Giga Brilliant and a Steel Sworn Roach, but I mean we don't have Laval Ball Chain or Emerald yet in the TCG, so I think that's what replaced those two. He only had 1 Leviaire though, and I really like that because I only had 1 Leviaire in my previous build, and the reason I did that was because I just never was really using it, and I always wanted to have more of a toolbox, so I had other monsters, other one-ofs, and so I cut it down to 1 just because I never really pulled out the second one, hardly ever, and even if I had a need to, like it just wasn't needed. Like I could have pulled out something better like a Leviathan, or if it's late game, or if they have a skill drain I can pull out this, or early game I can do this to waste the resources. So I mean this was really good, and the thing was he only ran 1, and his exact reason was you know, people were asking like, oh, you just ran 1. He's like, yeah, I never had a reason to have 2, like I never pulled out the second one. And so I thought that was really cool. So yeah, and also like on DN though, there's no like, these aren't secrets, so there's more randomization there, so it's not like I'm not going to always draw my rabbits. It's more randomized, so that's also the case too. But he was running it in the real life, so I mean, you know, that kind of shows that you don't really need 2 Leviaire. I mean, it's not like it's a taboo, but you know, you just don't need it. He kind of showed that, which I liked. So yep, that's the deck profile. Channel MST signing off.